are live, I think.
Yay!
Hello. Let's see. No, it's not here. I don't know. I'm not actually looking at YouTube. Let me check on YouTube if there's someone there.
Okay.
If there's
I think
someone
people
there.
are joining.
Hello. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Hello to everyone joining us for the official launch of 8,000 Birds and a preview of their debut EP entitled Turn Again and Come Back. Founded amid the COVID-19 pandemic, 8,000 Birds is an alt pop duo that has never met in real life. Formed in 2021 when Vancouver based musician Alejandro Zarazua met Johannesburg based vocalist Hayley Chewins on an online music forum. The two were soon collaborating and creating music virtually. The result is their debut EP, Turn Again and Come Back, and is now set for release on February the 14th, 2023. The Hauntingly Beautiful Blue House is the first single to be released from the EP, with the track showcasing what the electronic music project does best, blending personal lyrics and lush, eerie melodies. This evening, we will ask the duo about the process of making the EP, gain some insight into their creative choices, and delve into the meaning behind their work. Mostly, we'll get an exclusive pre-release first listen to the EP. I advise listening through headphones or headsets, the best that you have to enhance the listening experience. So, on that note, a big welcome to Hayley and Alejandro.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for
Hi.
being here with us. Hi, Haley. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Good to
thanks
see you
everyone
again.
Yeah,
for inviting.
I just quickly want to say thanks to Lyle as well for hosting us and helping us do this look even more awesome. And
Yeah.
thanks guys. Thanks. We can see some of you in the chat. Thank you and hello. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so as this is your debut release, I think it's important for the audience to know a little bit about who you are. Perhaps the best place to start this evening is through a brief introduction of each other. So, could you just give a little bit of background about yourselves? Things like where you're from, what has your musical journey been like so far, and apart from making music, what do you do every day?
Do you want to go first?
um, if you want, sure. Hello, my name is Alejandro Zarazua. I am originally from Mexico, and I moved to Canada with Ale, my wife, almost 7 years ago. Um, I guess the main thing is I'm one of those people who it's hard for me to talk about myself and like remember what I've done before. So all I know is I've been making music for a long, long time. Ever since I finished high school, I started. I knew that I wanted to do something related to music. I studied music for a couple of years back in Mexico. Then I studied music production here in Canada recently, a few years ago. I've worked with different bands and projects. Some of them are on the chat. I just saw them. Hola Tocayo. Um, and yeah, I just love making music and producing and creating things. I also work in translation. That's my day job for now. And what else? Yeah, pretty much that's every day for me, working on translation and working on music and being with Ale.
Okay, and I'm Hayley. I am from South Africa. I was born in Cape Town. I live in Johannesburg now, and I've always loved singing. Like I used to drive my family mad growing up because I was constantly singing. And I pretty much wanted to be a singer my whole life until I was about 18. And I went to university to study music, and it didn't turn out the way I expected it to. I couldn't, I just didn't, it didn't really gel with me. And I ended up switching and moving more into literature. And then, yeah, so my job now is that I write books for children. And yeah, but I just felt like I was missing something from my life, not playing music anymore, not writing songs anymore. And during the pandemic, I kind of started to come back to it, and then a little bit later, I met Alejandro, and yeah, it's been amazing since then.
Here we are.
Wow, that's it's quite an incredible thing that you guys kind of connected. Obviously, two very different paths, very different stories, but somehow you found each other. So it brings me to the next thing. Being in a band or a duo is akin to being in a complex sort of creative relationship. Finding or picking the right creative, technical, and emotional bandmate is so important to the process of creating music. Um, how do you know that this? How did you know that this collaboration could work? And what is it like creating music together, especially being 16,000 kilometers away from each other? I'm not sure about the mile, but we work in kilometers here in South Africa. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Uh, yeah. What was the first part of the question? What is it like
So,
working together?
yeah. How do you know that this collaboration could work?
Mm. Well, I mean, you don't. That's the whole thing. Is you kind of just the way it worked with us is that you take a kind of leap of faith because meeting someone on a forum online, you never know if the person's going to be cool, if they're going to gel with you musically, if they're like a robot or a real human being, or. So I did kind of feel like replying to Alejandro's post on the forum felt kind of like a leap of faith. And then we started working together, and it immediately felt right because I felt really safe. And I knew that I needed to work with someone who was really kind and also really good at communicating and able to kind of express what you needed, and then have a conversation about it. So yeah, that's how I felt from the beginning, and that's kind of why I knew I wanted to do an EP with you, Alejandro. Was
Mm.
just because right from the beginning, I felt like our communication was really good. I felt really safe, and that was important to me because I was in quite a vulnerable place emotionally with music. So yeah, and there were because what happened was before we did the EP, we did some songs together that we were pitching for ads and things like that. So we basically did small projects together first and got a taste for what it would be like. And there were some times where there was a problem with the software, or I didn't do something right, or like there was something had gone wrong technically, and the way that Alejandro always responded was just so kind of kind and respectful and clear. And so I just found it so easy to work with you right from the beginning. I don't know how you felt.
Um, yeah, as you said it all. That's perfect. Pretty much the same. I would just like to add that working on translation, I work with many people every day, but it's always over email. I almost never talk to anyone when I'm working. So I've developed this kind of idea or fantasy that whenever I read someone's words, I can hear their voice, and like I imagine how they are and if I like them or not. So as soon as I saw your post on the or your reply to my post in the forum, I was like, I like this person. Like I hadn't even heard your voice, and just the way you wrote, I was like, I don't know, but I like this person. I have a good feeling about this. And then
That's
you sent your first voice track, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
she can sing. That's beautiful. That's amazing. And then I think after that, I read your first lyrics, and learned that you were also a writer, and I was like, okay, she can also write songs. So that's perfect. I don't know how much time it passed before we actually met face to face online, but for the first, I think, few weeks or even couple of months, it was just emails back and forth, and
Mhm.
I like it. It's kind of a way of, as you said, Lyle, kind of like being in a creative relationship with someone that you meet through their heart and their brain first and their mind, and it's like I like that, and then everything else is just like, oh, and she's also a nice person, and Lyle is also awesome, so we can maybe
yeah,
also be friends. That's cool.
exactly. It's really how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm picking up a little bit of a thread here that Haley brings a certain component to the music, so lyrically and vocally, and then you seem to be more on the music production and the sort of more technical side. So that brings me to the next thing. How do you guys actually put a song together? Can you maybe describe your process for us a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
do you want me to?
Yeah, 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 please.
Okay. Yeah, so all the songs on the EP, what would happen is that they were all songs that I'd written previously, I think. Yeah, there were songs that I'd gone through a stage where I was just writing lots and lots and lots of songs. And those songs kind of felt like they had a similar energetic quality and they felt like a little constellation. So once I knew which songs I wanted to have on the EP, I recorded a very stripped down note on my phone, just using the voice memo app of me playing piano and singing the song from beginning to end. And then would send Alejandro the lyrics. And we kind of just went song by song that way. I think maybe the first one I sent you was Blue House, and you were
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, I'll work on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what's really amazing then about Alejandro is that he then like kind of looks at the lyrics, listens to the song, and somehow completely understands what the song is really about and what's at the heart of it. And I think that's something that's so amazing, to work with someone who really sees what you want to achieve and what's really there, and then is just pulling out kind of what's already there and just making it fuller and adding layers and fleshing it out and making it real. That's how it feels to me. So usually we have a conversation, and then Alejandro like has ideas for the production, and usually I'm like nodding my head like, yeah, yeah, that sounds really cool. And then he sends me drafts, and we kind of go back and forth. Do you want to say a little bit more about that process, Alejandro?
It's again, you've pretty much said it all. I would just like to add that from my perspective, it's almost the same thing. When I get a song from you, it's everything I need. So it's like a full song already. It's like a full story. I'm always amazed at like, oh, she can write like really amazing, awesome lyrics and like full stories with like relatively simple words or sentences. So to me, it's like it's everything there, and I just need to hear the rest in my mind and just like, oh, I want to add this music here and there. But yeah, it's I think it's why this works so well so far. We complement each other pretty well, and like whatever I'm not so good at doing, which is writing lyrics and putting together like a story or something. You did that right from the beginning, so now I have a full song to work with, and it makes my job a lot easier, and I think the other way around as well. And yeah, it's just basically, as you said, going back and forth, sending ideas, and you send me your vocal tracks, then I add some more music, send you back the idea, you send me some more notes, and do that, multiply that times 8 months or so, and here we are.
Yeah. Can I ask you a
So
question though? Because there's something really interesting about you kind of hear the rest in your head. Are you literally hearing it and then kind of,
No, 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 no. I Yeah, I've heard about people who can like see colors in music and all that. I don't think I have that kind of like magic skill, uh, but it's sort of been easy for me over time to learn how to, like, I guess, take elements that I remember from different songs or different artists that I like and kind of like put them together in a different way. I think for me the thing I love most about the music creation process is I see it as a puzzle or something that has to be put together, you know. And I always loved like riddles, puzzles, mind games, things like that. So for me, it's more like not that I'm creating something out of nothing, but I'm like putting together little pieces of things that I know from somewhere else and do like that. And what I liked about this specific process of working with you is kind of having like a visual story in mind, which is what I get from reading your lyrics and listening to your melodies. It's like, okay, I see this character doing this or feeling this way, and I'll try to put that into sounds and music, and that's what happens, I guess.
amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, it's such a crazy thing that you guys have found each other in this way. I mean, just
Mhm.
listening to you guys talk, it's really like things are just dovetailing, and it's making so much sense. And you can really hear it in the music. I've had obviously the privilege of getting a chance to listen to the music while it was being made,
Yeah.
early stages, and now to finally see it as this release that the world gets to hear. It's just fantastic. And listening to the backstory is just it's beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, 8,000 birds. This is a fantastic name, right? Could you tell us how you came up with it, and what it means, or is this something that you want to keep a little bit of a mystery about?
That's for
No, we
Haley.
can. Yeah, so we had a couple of names before this that we wanted to do that didn't work for different reasons. We wanted to, the first name that I had, which is actually the name of a manuscript that I wrote that didn't end up getting published, was Bright Bloom. I just loved that, like as one word, it just sounded so colorful and fresh, and like the kind of energy and the feeling of like someone kind of giving life to something that had been kind of dormant for a long time in my life. But then we Googled it, and there was a kind of really popular business with that name. So I thought, no, I need to think of something else. Um, and then I was going through things, and I remember telling you stuff, Lyle, telling you names, and then you'd be like, not sure about that one.
Yeah, you got to
um,
veto the bad ones.
yeah. So what I ended up doing was I ended up kind of gathering some of my, basically my favorite books, or the books that have most inspired me. And I kind of was flipping through them and just looking for like a cool phrase or idea from them. Because I wanted it to just, I didn't want it to be just like a random set of words. I wanted it to mean something. And anyway, I ended up picking up Rooftopers by Catherine Rundell, which is one of my favorite books ever. And it happens to be a children's book about a girl who kind of goes looking for her mother in Paris. And there's a line in that book where she hears real orchestral music for the first time. She goes to watch the orchestra. And there's a part in the beginning where she's really bored. And then the string instruments start playing, the cellos and the violas and the violins. And she turns to someone and she says, "This, it's like 8,000 birds." Like that's how it makes her feel. So I kind of like the connection to music, to literature for me, and then also that feeling that, I guess, the feeling that music gives both of us, that, when you hear a song that just speaks to you, and it really is like watching 8,000 birds fly into the sky. But also it's the same feeling that I get from having someone understand me musically, because I don't think I've ever really had that. So yeah, just that feeling of your heart being open and the joy of creating music with someone who gets it.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, that's like um, it's everything that is the two of you guys and the music that comes together again. It's obviously this um, big storytelling sort of base that you're coming from, but also in the music, Alejandro has been able to bring this layering of complex sounds and rhythms and this atmosphere. And you're right. I mean, this feeling of 8,000 little things sort of exploding or floating or stopping or changing direction. It's really there in the music. So brilliant. I mean, it's you guys are definitely, something's coming together there. Um, I think we should get into a little bit of the music, and what we're going to do is kind of um, talk a little bit about one of the songs and then take a listen. So again, just to remind you guys out there listening or tuning in to YouTube, just to use a headset if you don't have a nice sound system set up. Before we step into the music, please feel free to comment or ask questions in the comment section, and we'll have a moment to respond to them at the end of the listening session. But yeah, let's get into the music. The EP opens up with a song called Epilogue. For those that don't know, an epilogue is a part at the end of a story that serves as a comment or a conclusion to what has already happened. Yet you guys have chosen this as the starting point of your EP. Can you give us a bit of a backstory in terms of the meaning behind the title Epilogue and its significance to the song?
Is that me?
Yep. Over to
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this song, I actually wrote this on a day. Lyle took me to the music shop to hang, like, just play around and look at guitars, and we didn't end up buying one. But when we got home, he was like, "Hey, if you want to, you can play around on my PRS," which is his first real guitar, or like the first guitar that he owned. So anyway, so I was just messing around on Lyle's PRS, and this line came into my head. I saved a dead man's life, and it kind of unspooled over the next few weeks. This feeling of it's really a song about endings, which is I think why it's called epilogue. But it's more about why how an ending is always also a beginning of something. So it's that feeling of being on the brink of an ending and then realizing that beyond that is a beginning. And also the idea that being in touch with death can bring you more to life, or can remind you that you don't have that much time left, and you need to live your life while you're here. And I guess that was kind of what I was working through at that time, was the feeling of being quite scared to share music and to even come back to music, because I felt like I'd failed and I had kind of lost my way. But also feeling like if I don't do it, even though I'm terrified, if I don't do it, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. And I don't want to die I don't want to die knowing that I never sang again and I never shared my songs with anyone. So that's kind of what the song is about. And so I like that it's the epilogue and it's the first song, because it's this idea of like there was an ending and now there's a beginning.
Amazing. I've obviously listening to the music and the song in particular. I had an obvious, it hits you obviously that it's a theme of salvation or redemption in the song. And I was wondering about, those feelings of death and life and salvation. And you've kind of really, kind of explained that before me even needing to ask the question. Another thing that uh, sort of stuck out for me is the really strong imagery in the song. It's really evocative. And I love the idea of a big black wolf as an ominous figure in the song, and that it serves as the key to an important lesson. So I'm interested, obviously this is coming from Hayley's lyrical stuff, but how does this type of imagery influence the mood and choice of instrumentation to the music? Perhaps Alejandro, this is more something for you to give us.
Um, I think the combination of those things you just mentioned with another thing we do is sometimes Haley sends me references of different songs or artists that have like a specific vibe or sound that she's thinking about for this song. So I think the combination of that and the references just gave me a lot to work with, and I wanted to do something that was kind of dark, haunting, things like that. And one of the cool things hidden inside this song is you, Haley, sent me a recording of a thunder. There was like a thunderstorm sometime
Yeah.
near your house, and you recorded thunder, and you were like, here's this. I don't know if you can use it. So you guys will hear it in the beginning of the song. It's pretty cool. So I kind of just took it from there, and I wanted to do like I always like to do changes in songs. So it's like sometimes it's soft and then it gets intense and so on. So I did a little bit of that, and then I remember Haley said like, it's nice, but maybe it could be like a bit more intense. So I dialed it up a little bit more, and you ended up sending me like a black metal song or something, and I was like, and you were like, this is more like what I'm thinking, and I was like, oh, you need more power. I can always give you more power. So I just made it a little bit more intense, and we got to this final result, which I really loved, and yeah.
So interesting. I wonder which black metal song that was, Haley.
It was a Vola song. I don't know if Vola counts as black metal, does
Um,
it?
but yeah, I get it.
Or
For
like
some
heavy
people, it
metal.
is.
Yeah, I don't know, like
Yeah, yeah.
heavy metal. I don't
That's Lyle's influence.
know.
Lyle
Uh,
loves Vola.
okay, great. So how about we stop talking for a bit and listen to epilogue?
Nice.
Cool.
Enjoy, guys. Here we go.
I saved a dead man's
Hey, brilliant. That's yeah. I mean, it's just it's really powerful. It's everything that you've described. I've listened to this on repeat basically, and it's just been perfect. Um, so just a reminder, guys, please to anyone listening in, remember to send your comments or your questions into the comments section for the band. They would love to respond to you guys out there a little bit later. Blue House. Okay, so this is the second song on the EP. It is the single, so it's the one that's actually out and available on the streaming platforms at the moment. The song expresses a feeling of a relentless cycle to and from a place of great meaning. The music and melody combine to create a sense of magical lure and otherworldliness. The glockenspiel, the live cello, the layering of a restrained and curated rhythm section that sits way back in the mix works so well to create this atmosphere. Was this a conscious effort to achieve it, or did it come organically through the music making process?
From the music perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I think
To me, yes, I think it was very conscious. Like Haley said, it was, or like you said, Haley, it was the first song you sent me when you said you wanted to make an EP together. I really liked the story. We didn't talk very much about, for any of the songs, we didn't talk about very much about the meaning it had to you or anything. I guess I understood most of it from the lyrics themselves, and then I made my own story about them, I guess. Um, so yeah, what I wanted to do is as you said, Lyle, kind of like make this sense of, or yeah, emulate this feeling of things repeating over and over. But I also imagine a character that like a the same character in different stages of their life, like maybe as a child and then as a teenager, as an adult, and so on. And I wanted to do something that was kind of like the same idea, but with little different elements or added elements at some points. And I also thought about doing things or making music with things that you would find around a house without making it like going to the studio or anything like that. So the glockenspiel, for instance, is a little toy glockenspiel that I have. Uh, and it's just like lying around in the office, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make music with this. This is also a good time to mention that you, Lyle, played bass for us in these songs, except for Talk Around. And Ale, who's here. Ale is hiding somewhere. There's Ale. Hello. She's always in life as she is right now. She's always behind me, supporting me and helping me in everything I do. So she played cello. She started playing cello again after a while last year, and she was excited about playing the cello with us, and I really loved having her here. So we recorded the cello at home. You guys recorded the bass and the vocals at home. You, Haley, did recorded your vocals in different spaces, but everything within houses. So one is from the bathroom, one is from the hallway. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that later. But to me, it was very important to capture those feelings of things you have at home, like homemade recordings, and in the end, trying to make them sound more professional and polished, of course. So yeah, all of those elements combined into this song. What do you think, Haley?
yeah, yeah. It's so cool to hear that. And when you told me about the Glockenspiel, it just made so much sense to me. It was really cool. And also, I associate that sound with kind of music boxes and childhood
Mm-hmm.
objects. This feels like a sounds like a toy. So that also felt really appropriate for a song that is kind of about someone who um, can't really go away or separate from their childhood. They kind of keep circling back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Okay. I mean, so for me, the song explores the theme of growing up and still being connected to a place, a feeling, or an event in the past. So this connection seems to have a certain hold over you, and it's something that you are desperate to escape but can't quite manage. I don't know if you, Hayley, could maybe tell us about the origins of the song. Does it hold a purely personal meaning for you, or do you see it as having a more universal meaning for more people out there, or many people out there?
Yeah, I definitely see it that way. And I think one of the things I've learned from writing is that in order to create something that is universal, you have to create something that's extremely specific to you. It's weird how the things that are extremely specific to you are the things that resonate usually the most widely. But this song actually started as a story idea. I had this image in my mind of this woman who she was kind of in her 30s. She was trying to drive away from a house, and she thought, she was in the car and she would think that she was driving away, but the roads were kind of shifting underneath her, and she would always kind of end up right in front of the house again, kind of in this trap. And yeah, the books that I write are usually magical. They usually have some kind of magical element. So in my mind, it was this real element that she couldn't get away from the house. It wasn't just symbolic. And I just couldn't kind of get into writing it as a story. And then, yeah, the one day this line popped into my head. This is one of the songs that I didn't write while I was noodling on an instrument. It just came into my head kind of fully formed. And the first line, I've lived in the blue house for all of my days. Um, oh, sorry, I've lived in the blue house for all of my life, first as a daughter and then as a wife. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like this isn't a story, it's a song. Um, so that's kind of where it came from. But yeah,
It's such
very, I think it can apply to lots of different things, because I think we all have kind of emotional setups, emotional patterns that we keep, like you just keep coming back to them, you keep returning to it, even though you're trying to break the cycle. Um, yeah, that's what it feels like it's about to me.
It's such a great line, and there are so many of them in the song. So I think we have to let the guys out there take a listen. The second song, the single, Blue House.
I lived in the blue house for all of my life. First as a daughter and then as a wife. I've tried
Wow. That song is the perfect single for this EP.
Thanks.
It is haunting. It's exactly what the writers were talking about in the blogs. Beautiful vocal performance, and that music is brooding. Really haunting. Sticks with you for. It's going to stick with you for a while. Um,
Nice.
Thanks so much for that song.
Thank you. And
Um,
by the way, sorry, by the way, Ale also made the video for that song, which is available here on YouTube, and it's amazing,
Yeah,
and it goes perfect with the song, perfectly with the song. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so check it out if you haven't.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Okay, so um, there's a few comments and questions coming in, which we'll get to at the end after the listening process. But please continue to add to the comments and questions. We're gonna have a great time responding to them. Um, so there is definitely a storytelling component to the band. And I want to just get a little bit deeper into this as we get into the next song, which is called Talk Around. I'm going to read a definition of the third act in a story. The third act features the resolution of the story and its subplots. The climax is the scene or sequence in which the main tensions of the story are brought to their most intense point and the dramatic question is answered, leaving the protagonist and the other characters with a new sense of who they really are. Talk Around is the third track of the EP, and given that Hayley is a novelist, the definition of the third act in relation to Talk Around is pretty intriguing to me. With this track, the mood of the EP takes a shift towards a more melancholic space. Digital glitches, drone sounds, dystopian keys, driving synths, they all create the backdrop of very powerful vocal performance. It really feels like you're taking the audience through a journey on this EP. Um, so maybe a question to both of you guys. Is Talk Around really the third act of this EP, both musically and lyrically? And can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, I think it is. I definitely was trying, even though the original order that I'd envisioned for the EP is actually different. We can talk about that maybe a bit later. But I did always think of this song as the emotional climax of the EP. And I was trying to think of it in terms of so I had the feeling that the songs kind of were a little bit of a constellation. And then I was trying to kind of figure out a kind of story arc. Obviously, it's not the same as when you're writing an actual story, but yeah, I wanted it to have like an emotional arc to the EP. So I definitely thought about that, and then the orders kind of changed from when we started when Alejandro started sending the masters and the songs were kind of getting towards being like finished. I remember you saying, Lyle, this song needs to be like the first song. And then Alejandro also had ideas about what should be the first song and what should be the second song. And so I kind of moved them around. But Talk Around was always that kind of denouement. Well, not really denouement, it was the climax. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And to
And
me,
Alejandro, how did you feel about this?
yeah, there's just so many little things about each song and like hidden things and Easter eggs almost that I would like to share. I think I'm gonna start sharing some of them on Instagram. So if you guys want to follow us on Instagram, I'll start like sharing little secrets from each song and things like that. I think there's two or three things about this song that really stand out for me. First of all, I think in the end it became probably the best one in terms of music and production. So it's like probably the most complete song or the I don't know the best finished product maybe. Which is also really interesting because we almost didn't make this song. I think the first draft that I sent you, Haley, when you sent me the lyrics and everything, it was completely different. I understood it completely differently, or I thought I had a completely different image in my mind. I thought about something more like kind of like 90s alternative music or something like that. Um, you said something like, "No, this is not what I'm thinking for this song." I was like, "Okay, let's try another one." So we did a second draft, and you were like, I think you said something like, this is a little bit better, but still not there. So you almost like, even if you're like positive and trying to like do things well, you always get that feeling of like, okay, maybe this is not gonna happen. Like we're not getting it. That little bit of frustration of like, I'm not getting it. This is not working. I felt like I don't think I said anything. I'm not sure, but I felt like please don't give up on me. I'll try one more time, but like not don't say like let's just discard it yet or something like that. So we did one more attempt, and you sent me a few more references, or I think that was the first time you sent me references for the song.
Yeah.
And one of the also the really important things that happened there was you sent me a piano track that Liale played or Liale wrote.
Yeah.
And you told me Liale started playing this piano. I don't know if it helps. And for me, it was like that combination of things was the perfect like spark for the rest of the song. And I was like, okay, this is what I was missing. Like this is the perfect like sign, like pointing me in the right direction, you know. So everything after that started falling in place, and I'm pretty proud. Honestly, I'm pretty proud of the synths in the chorus and like everything like falling down. And to me, it was like the perfect way to express what the lyrics are saying. Like the whole world is falling down around you or crumbling around you, and but you want to rise and I don't know, make your life better after that, I guess.
Yeah.
I could keep talking about this for a long time, but those are like my main things about the song.
Yeah, there's definitely a feeling of falling apart and things come apart and spiraling, I think the production really captures that, and obviously the vocal. I mean, there's such a relationship between the melody, the vocal, the lyric, and the production, and it comes together so perfectly for this song. Um, you know. You talk about this song having the possibility of not making the EP, in the sense of it just didn't seem to come together, but actually, it did. Were these, five tracks, the only tracks that you had in mind for the EP? And how did you decide what should be on the EP or what could make the cut for the EP? It's a question to both of you, really.
Yeah, so it was always those songs. There was actually another song that I ended up towards the end thinking it just felt like it didn't belong with the rest. Like the EP already felt complete. And it was weird because I was kind of putting off recording it, and then I had to kind of interrogate that. Why am I putting off recording it? Why doesn't it feel like I should do it? And yeah, I just felt like it wasn't really an energetic match for the EP, even though I love that song, and hopefully we'll be able to make it a song later down the road. But yeah, this song was really hard to make, and I totally agree. I also had that feeling of don't give up on me, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this right because it was the hardest song to sing on the EP, and when I first started recording the vocal tracks, it was not going very well, and yeah, it just sounded so off to me, and anyway, so yeah, it took me a long time to be able to record it. And I think also part of that is the lyrical content and the fact that the song is so much about kind of um it's about kind of some of the trauma that I have around music. And it was just such a obviously I kind of processed it and things like that, but it was such a raw, emotionally vulnerable song to sing, and that was a big part of it. But the funny thing about the song is that I wrote it on basically a toy ukulele that I bought off Take Lot, like a tiny little red
Wow.
ukulele. That was the first version of the song, and
I would
yeah,
love
actually,
to. I would love to hear that ukulele performance of the song, especially when you guys hear the song, to visualize it as being written on this little toy.
yeah,
It's not a toy; it's a real instrument. But to kind of put those two things together is quite a difficult task for the brain.
yeah,
But it's really interesting that you talk about the struggle of writing the song, not so much the writing of the song, but the production of the song, and taking it from that raw beginning into what it is now. It almost feels like you guys were kind of spiraling and things were falling apart in this process of making the song. And as you guys are saying, it's probably one of the songs that you're most proud of in the end, which is, kind of a little bit about what the song is all about, really.
Yeah.
It also brings me to the title of the EP. It's called Turn Again and Come Back. And while we're talking about these sort of deeper meanings behind things, could you maybe tell us a little bit about this title? I don't know where it came from, whether it came from Hayley or Alejandro. I could maybe guess, but it's a question for both of you, maybe from two different angles.
Well, the first thing I want to say, just to go back to talk around, so yeah, so that even writing the song was actually quite hard, and it was the only song on the EP that went through multiple iterations and had the first version that I wrote on the ukulele had a different chorus, had slightly different lyrics, and I actually sent that version to my friend Lindsay Eager, who's also a novelist, and I think she's here watching, and yeah, so yeah, and then over like 2 years. It was just, I was kind of playing it on piano, playing it on guitar, trying to figure it out. And then the thing that really made it come together was taking a line that I had written a long, long time ago, well, like right at the beginning of 2020, this line about silence being a stone in your mouth and learning to talk around it. And that was the thing that really brought it together. And at that point, I sent the piano voice note demo to Alejandro. But yeah, the title, Turn Again and Come Back. So when I had to think about, what we were going to call the EP, I did what I usually do when I'm trying to think of ideas, which is just get out a notebook and a pen and write down 100 bad ideas to get to one kind of good idea. And most of the things I wrote down were really bad. But when I wrote down Turn Again and Come Back, it just felt right. And I think the reason why it feels right is because of kind of what I've been talking about throughout this evening is the idea of sometimes you could lose parts of yourself or feel like you have lost parts of yourself, but they're still there and you can always turn again and come back. And because I had felt in the past like I had tried to turn back towards music, and it hadn't really panned out the way I wanted it to, and I had tried to kind of to bring it back to life, and things weren't happening, and it just felt like that feeling of just do it again, just get up again, just turn again and come back, because you can always come back. And the idea of you can always come back to who you really are, and you can always come back to the gifts that you have, and you can always come back to your own voice, just felt very powerful to me.
Yeah, that's perfect. Nothing to add there.
Yeah, extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. I think, we shouldn't hesitate. Can't wait to hear the song again. So please,
Yeah.
let's
I just
listen
wanted to
to.
say quickly that the software that I'm using to broadcast this is only letting us broadcast for another 18 minutes. So everyone watching will just be here for 18 more minutes. So please stay with us. So maybe let's play Talk Around and then talk a little bit about the next song quickly so we can play it. And then after we can read the comments and questions and all that. Okay.
Brilliant.
Here it goes. Enjoy, guys.
It was a small, small room. Damaged me like a car crash, not a
Yes, that song. It's so good. So I want to just start incorporating some of the comments that we're getting because there's some really
Yes,
interesting
please.
things. I think Raz is saying some serious My Bloody Valentine, Angel Olsen, and Massive Attack vibes. But Haley, your vocal harmonies are so distinct. I love the song. It's like a meditation on pain, incubating. Oh my God, I love it. Amazing.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love
sorry,
Angel.
I didn't
I'm obsessed with
I
her,
didn't
so that's a huge compliment to me.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I didn't tell the full name, Raz. I haven't got the rest. I think you will just have to bear with me on that. Um, just moving forward a little bit and incorporating some of the other comments
Hmm.
across the whole EP. There's a blend of acoustic instrumentation and digital production, and there's a great balance between these two, and a real sense of space between the complex layers of sounds and textures. Personally, I can sit and pick out contemporary musical influences. I mean, I'm hearing things like Nine Inch Nails, Mogwai, Taylor Swift, Agnes Obel, the Civil Wars. I'm the list. I mean, it's these things are jumping out to me. On this topic, a question from Renzo Radar: Who are, for both of you, your biggest musical influences? And then I also want to ask, on top of that, how are they sort of adding to your work?
You can go first, Alejandro.
Yeesh, yeah, I would need another hour to talk about this. I'm just gonna say Bjork and people like her, like people who produce big things. Imogen Heap, Bjork, Radiohead, and everyone who's worked with them.
That's why we gel because
Yeah,
well, she is my
yeah.
favorite.
More recently, like Perfume Genius, who we also like, both of us. But yeah, like people who make complex things sound simple and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, And on the other end of the scale, I think the people who most influence me are people who can do something really simple, like people like Adrian Lenker and Sharon Van Etten, especially early Sharon Van Etten. And yeah, Taylor Swift, I am an unapologetic Swiftie. People who can kind of just tell a story with just a guitar and a voice. So yeah, it's interesting that we kind of like we both listen to a range of music, but I think that the stuff that I'm really drawn to is usually more like the singer songwriter, folky kind of more stripped back stuff, and then the stuff you're drawn to feels more dramatic, and I just love how they come together.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can hear those influences in the music. They somehow, I don't know, they just come together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are kind of running a little bit short on time, so I'm just going to push forward a little bit.
Hmm.
The final track on the EP is called "Living Gone,"
Hmm.
and I've heard you guys say that it's sort of the best way to conclude the EP. A cycling synth and an open acoustic drum sound are the musical features of the song. The instrumentation seems to expand outside of the sort of minimal and sort of curated or restrained percussive feel of the rest of the EP. Alejandro, what was your thinking kind of behind the sounds and this approach?
I think mainly I read the story again. I made my own version of the story in my mind, and I wanted to convey the image of someone going through like social media and like looking at lots of posts and feeling bad about themselves and feeling like, oh, I don't belong here with all these like beautiful people living awesome lives, and I somehow don't belong, or I don't feel like I'm gonna be like them. So I added like some sounds in the beginning that are sort of out of time, which is actually hard to play out of time sometimes, to emulate this sort of like distracting noise that's always there when you're looking at social media or thinking about things like that. And also like again, like trying to draw the story and going to the arch of like, but no, like there's something valuable in me and valuable in me and valuable in everyone, and let's try to bring that out and try to focus on that instead of and forget about all the noise and everything else, in a nutshell.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So when I listen to this song, I experienced sort of a complex blend of peace, hope, reassurance, acceptance, and defiance, kind of woven to form the sonic experience on the track. Um, what is Living Gone? And why was this the obvious choice for the closing of the release? I think maybe Hayley, this is one for you.
Mm. Well, yeah, living gone is living away from who you really are, living apart from yourself, that feeling of kind of watching your life happening and not really being connected to it in a real way. It's the feeling of being separate from the truest part of you. And that was something that obviously this whole kind of journey that I've been on, coming back to songwriting and singing, and also trying to have the courage to share things because Lyle knows that mostly I just want to hide. And I feel like I was really nervous for this evening sharing all the songs with everyone because it just feels really exposing and scary. And, but yeah, so having that feeling of like, a feeling like I could never do it because it's just too scary. And other people have that courage, but I don't. And it is people like Sharon Van Etten comes to mind specifically as someone who really is so courageously vulnerable in her music. And this song kind of does reference her because I do think about the lyrics are kind of about how sometimes I would look at pictures of her or watch like shows of her playing on YouTube and just feel like I could never do that. I'm not that cool, or I don't have that whatever she has. And then that kind of voice inside that's just saying like, no, stop saying that to yourself. Just do it. Just what have you got to lose? Because I actually want to live my life here, like in my body, in my heart, just present. So
Those are such powerful thoughts, and I think it's captured in the song. So I think let's on that note take a listen to "Living Gone."
Actually, I have an idea. It says here that we have 5 minutes left, but I think it's only for the interview part of the software. So why don't we take a couple of minutes to answer some of the questions from the comment section, and what we can do later is start playing the song when we have like 1 or 2 minutes left, and you guys can just end your side of the interview, and I'll just leave the song playing, and after the song is done, we can finish the broadcast. Does that make sense?
That's
yeah,
perfect. That's perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so let's just read a couple of comments and get a couple of questions.
I've been going through the questions here. I have the first one here. I'm gonna put it on screen, see if it works. I don't know if you'll see the whole question though, but I'll.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, Alejandro, my tocayo, he says, Hayley, besides the lyrics, do you think there's some other connection between you being a writer and your singing and your songs?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I've always loved writing, and I think what I did was kind of apply a lot of things that I was doing when I knew I wanted to write a book, but also have had that same feeling of I don't know if I can actually do that. And other people write books, I can't write a book. I kind of applied a lot of the creative solutions that I'd figured out how to overcome those blocks to singing and to coming back to songwriting. So that was really important to me. I kind of feel like I needed to develop that creative part of myself in writing first, and because it gave me such confidence to be able to write things and have people read them. So that's been a really important connection. And then my first novel was actually a book about a girl who loves to sing and is terrified to sing in front of people, and also isn't allowed to sing in the fantasy world that she lives in. And then it's through when she sings, she literally changes like the world that she lives in. So I feel like that was like a message that my unconscious was giving me, like when I started writing that book in 2015. So
Awesome. We have another one here from Raz from before. Hi, Raz again. They say, did you realize when you guys finished Blue House, you'd written something special, and the song itself is, in my opinion, the best I heard since 2021. Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
thank you.
I'm just gonna say I realized it was something special when Hayley sent me the voice note and the lyrics. That's why I told her, yes, I definitely want to work on the song, and I want to do my best to make it sound as good as we can, because it's an amazing song. What do you think, Hayley?
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because you're the first person that I've kind of done this, like sent voice notes to. It's like literally a crackly, bad recording on my phone. And I love that when I send Alejandro something like that, he's immediately like, "Oh, this is so cool." And I can like hear what it could be, because I guess that's what you have to do as a producer, is hear what the song could be, even though right now it's literally just like two, three, four chords on a piano and a
Oh.
voice recorded really badly. So,
Yeah, I think those were the only questions. Everything else is really nice comments. Thank you guys for everything. I just wanted to say
thanks.
to all my Mexican friends and family who are watching, muchas gracias a todos. Los quiero mucho y los extraño y gracias por estar por acá. Yeah, so I don't know. Do you guys want to say anything else before we play the song and end the interview?
Just thank you. I wanted to thank Ale for our absolutely beautiful lyric video. It's so beautiful, and the first time you showed it to me, I just felt so emotional watching it. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Your work really speaks to me. And also thank you to Lyle for doing this wonderful interview and for listening to the EP on repeat for 3 hours in order,
That was awesome.
and also
I
for
love
the bass, and
Yeah.
for teaching me how to use Reason and setting up the mics for me and all of that stuff.
that's a shout out to Simon.
Yeah, shout out
Indirect.
to
I'm gonna start playing the song just so we don't lose the streaming signal. I think you guys feel free to leave the interview as soon as the song starts playing. Thanks everyone for being here with us. Thank you, Lyle. Thank you, Hayley. See you soon.
everyone. We love you.
Thanks, guys. And don't forget to check out 8,000 Birds on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. All the links are in the description. Thanks very much.
That woman is meant to be the outline of me. She's up on the screen. I'll never know what follows me, hollows me, what could have been. I'll never be wind in my hair. I wanna be scared. I wanna be scared, and I won't let this go. Won't let me go on. me.